Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast, sponsored by DraftKings Best Ball. Guess what? Special guest in the house today. We've got Andrew Cooper of Fantasy Alarm with us. Coop A Fiasco on the socials. Coop and I are going to break down fantasy football fallout of NFL free agency through 4 days and change. Coop, it's been fast and furious here. We're going to get right into things here, and we're going to talk quarterbacks. Malik Willis heads to Miami. And Coop, when I think about this, I just remember that he had 4 starts with Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. He averaged less than 20 pass attempts. And that tells me LaFleur understood. This is a game manager. I want to have a run-based offense. And then they get that Baltimore game. And Baltimore knew it. And Baltimore is loading up the box because they're not going to pass. And then Willis got off a number of big passes because the defense didn't think it was coming. My biggest worry about Malik Willis is this. When Miami's trailing by double digits in the second quarter, and that's going to happen a lot, is this a dude that's going to drop back 35 times and pass? But for fantasy, the dude runs the football. And running, that's a cheat code. So what are your thoughts on him? And is he a slam dunk QB1 because of the running? Or is there a chance he gets benched at some point?
Well, I'll tell you what. Like, you hit the nail on the head with how we have to approach this, right? We have to wear 2 different hats. And you and I, we are fantasy guys, but also real football guys. So when it comes to fantasy first, all I really care about is the rushing. And it might sound crazy, but you go back through the last decade, every quarterback that has been willing to run 5 times a game and play at least 16 games, every one of them has finished top 10 in fantasy football. Every one. You have to go back to Colin Kaepernick in, I think, 2014 to find somebody who ran that much and didn't finish as a QB1 in fantasy. Like, it is the cheat code. It is completely broken. So as long as the guy's willing to run, and last year he was on that list of guys running more than 5 times a game, I'm interested. Simple as that, especially in best ball where you're drafting multiple quarterbacks. Like, take a shot. That's where you go. Now, for real life football, obviously the sample size is super small. Everyone knows what the complaints are. Like you said, we've never seen a situation with his back against the ropes where he had to play hucky-chucky football. But I will say this, as far as the landing spots go, I do love this one because the scheme that Bobby Slowick runs, super QB friendly. Super QB friendly. We've seen it with Kyle Shanahan, with Clint Kubiak, with Mike McDaniel. This scheme, with all the pre-snap motion, with all the multiple tight ends and the fullback to help you from getting sacked all the time, the really quick releases. Tua Tagovailoa was easy for me to say. Was a top.
Watch your language.
Was a top quarterback 3 years in a row, including this year, in getting the ball out of his hands quickly. I mean, only Phillip Rivers was getting the ball out faster among guys that played like 3 or 4 games or more, right? So, like, it's a super friendly scheme. I mean, go back and look at C.J. Stroud in 2023 under Bobby Slowick. He looked great. Like, that was kind of the best version of C.J. Stroud that we've seen. So I actually think as far as landing spot, it's good. As far as what he does, it's good. And you can sit back and say, I don't think he's an NFL quarterback. And I would say, okay, that's fair. Like, we don't know yet. But as far as being put into a position to succeed, couldn't have got a better one. He could have ended up with the Jets. He could have ended up with some of these very complex pocket passer schemes. That's not this. This is everybody goes in motion before the snap. You get the ball, you throw it to a spot, right? And I think he should be able to do that.
You know, Coop, when we talk about these mobile quarterbacks, every year I still bring it up, and I know now it's really dated, but I said Tim Tebow was a QB1 when he was on the field, and he couldn't throw the football at an NFL level. That's your point, and that's what everybody needs to understand. Now, you could get the Justin Fields of last year where he got benched, and that's a different story for a different day, but it seems like Malik Willis is in a completely different spot at this point. He should have enough time to be able to try things out. Do you think, and real quick on this, is there a chance in your mind, though, that he could get benched if he's bad?
You know, I don't think so. I think in this instance, you just ride it out. I mean, these Dolphins have done that before, and it basically, in my opinion, really hurt the development of Tua. Remember, they started Tua, and then they benched him for Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then they had to bring him back. Like, that is a death sentence. And when you pay a guy this kind of money, you just got to ride it out. So I really don't think that happens. And my last note on this is that if you were rooting for Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, any of those guys, this is obviously tremendous news because they could have folded it up and gone complete tank mode. That was on the table.
Yes.
Like, if they didn't get a quarterback that's willing and ready to compete now, that could have been the direction of the team. But this signing breathes life into everyone. Now you're playing to win. Now you're turning around and you're going to try and build something that can win now and within the next couple of years. So great news for those players, regardless of what you believe in Willis. Just the direction of the team is positive news for those guys.
Before we move on, and we'll move on quickly, Scott Cobb's asking, are the Dolphins and Jets stay away? Look, you can't stay away from Devon Etienne. Really, Jalen Wild, they're going to trail most weeks. They're going to have to throw the ball, and there are going to be 2,500 yards minimum passing through the air for this team, and somebody's got to get them. So I don't think there are voids. I just think if the price is right, you look that way. Coop, let's move forward. This one won't be a long one here. Tua Tagovailoa. I just find it very weird. Michael Penix recovering from an ACL. You have Penix, throws downfield, stronger arm. Tua Tagovailoa has no arm, can throw short with accuracy. They're the polar opposite of each other. Kevin Stefanski comes in to coach. I just don't understand, because it's like you can't run the same offense for one that you do for the other. It's like not even in the universe that could happen. Is it they're going to take a look and see who's a better fit for them down the road? But Tua's got the concussions injury history. I am perplexed by this move. What are your quick thoughts on Tagovailoa to the Falcons?
So I think for a number of these players, which Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy, and Cam Ward last year, obviously they're not doing this with Cam Ward, but the problem with those guys was at a fundamental level. Anyone that's played quarterback at any level knows that at the number one level, your one responsibility, for lack of a better word, is not screwing up. Can you play a clean game? And that starts with walking into the huddle and saying, hey, guys, here's the play, right? And you look at the Titans and you look at the Falcons and you look at the Vikings. When those guys were quarterbacks, those teams were leading the league in illegal formation. They were leading the league in false starts and having guys illegal motion. Like they just running. And at times you would see these guys snap the ball and turn around to hand it off, and the running back's going left and he's going right. Like that, at that level, like you need to bring somebody in and put these guys into competition and say, hey, we have Tua now. We have Kyler Murray now. Say what you will about Kyler Murray. He can communicate the play and get the snap and run the play, right? Like he can get the play started. And then once your quarterback can do those things, then you start asking, can this guy make difference-making plays? Can this guy get through all the reads and do those things, which Kyler has not been able to do? But like those guys are still at the level where like we don't even know if they can play NFL caliber quarterback. We've seen a lot of guys not even get off the ground in that sense. So I do like the idea. And also the thing I love more than anything is the contract, right? With the offset language, 1 year veteran minimum. If it works, you pay him. If it doesn't, he's gone. I mean, doesn't get better than that.
Speaking of the veteran minimum, last evening, early, Kyler Murray ends up with the Minnesota Vikings. And Coop, I made this real simple. And I think we even went back and forth on social media, both positively in this direction. But what I see is this. Kevin O'Connell, he schemes his receivers open almost instantly. And pre-snap motion and play action are things that he uses extensively. Those are cheat codes for quarterbacks. Helps him identify coverage very quickly. Kyler Murray has never had the benefit of that consistently in his offense. The other thing is, people say, oh, Kevin O'Connell won't be able to work with the mobile quarterback. Not so fast. He does use some boot action. He does use some rollouts, but he's never had quarterbacks he could leverage that with. Kirk Cousins, and others. It wasn't going to be a thing. Sam Darnold to a degree. Don't think Kevin O'Connell doesn't have that in his bag of tricks. And if that's in the bag of tricks, it could weaponize Kyler Murray. He has an elite arm. It's just he has holes in his game. But I believe that Kevin O'Connell is one of those genius level coaches, and he has everything around. The tackles, Darisaw will be healthy this year. So I think it's a great environment. What are your thoughts on Kyler, and how do you rank him for fantasy?
Yeah, I'm in. And you think about Kyler Murray, it's clear what the problem has been. For this guy, he's actually been – everyone knows that he's a scrambler, right? And that he does that well, and that he can find guys downfield when they're helping themselves get open. But people don't realize is that he's been one of the best in the league at getting the ball out of his hands very quickly. Top 3 quarterback per fantasy points data suite, getting the ball out in under 2 seconds. And he can deliver those first read balls really well. I mean, look at Trey McBride and the amount of targets he's been peppered with. It's the intermediate reads that have been the problem. And staying in the pocket and waiting for and trusting that those guys are going to get open. I think it's been a trust issue to some degree, both with the line and the play calling. You look at an elite quarterback like Joe Burrow, and one thing that he often does is he will pass up on the easy pass all the time. Mike Gesicki's open all the time, but he trusts that T. Higgins or the Jamar Chase, based on his pre-snap read and based on the play call, he trusts that those guys will be open, and he's willing to pass up the low-hanging fruit to wait for that to develop. And Kyler Murray's never done that. He just, if James Conner's open, if Trey McBride's open, he just does that. So hopefully he can get into another realm and start doing that. And I will say this, and if you're a Cardinals fan watching, Kelly Singer, whoever's out there, cover your ears now.
Yes.
I do think that the Cardinals organization is legitimately terrible. They've been around for 100 years, and they have the same number of playoff wins as the Texans, who became a team in 2002. I think Michael Bidwell is a bozo. I don't think he should be the president of the team, and he should bring in a real football man to run that operation. They get D minuses, F minuses every year. I think this year is the first time they weren't 32 in the player survey. They ranked 31. Like, this team should be, when you rattle off teams like the Jets and the Browns, the Cardinals should be coming out of your mouth in the same breath. So anytime you have quarterbacks leaving those organizations, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, I'm willing to give them a shot. And at age 28, where Kyler Murray is, his statistics are better than what Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield were at 28.
Yes.
And those statistics for Sam Darnold include this season and last season. You put up Sam Darnold's stats versus Kyler Murray right now at age 28, where they both are the same age, and Kyler Murray's are better. So I am absolutely willing to give this guy another shot at another organization. So sorry, Cardinals.
If you listen to me and Coop, it's context that matters. People can pull numbers out, and numbers are fine. Numbers have a great place in this thing, but context means everything, and this is a massive context shift for Kyler Murray. Before we move to running backs, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, who I heard has changed his pronunciation, we're going to have a quick word from DraftKings, our sponsor.
It's the offseason, but on DraftKings, football never sleeps. Early Bird Best Ball is back. Get a head start on the season and compete for a share of $1 million in total prizes before the rest of the field even jumps in. Are you new to Best Ball? It's the easiest way to get in on the action without the weekly grind. Draft once, and that's it. Each week, your top scores automatically count. No roster moves, no weekly management. Just build your squad and let it ride all season long. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app and draft your early bird best ball lineup for a shot at a share of $1 million in prizes. Drafts stay open until the season kicks off, so now's the time to jump in. You draft it, we crown it, so sign up now using the link in the description below to take your shot at a share of $1 million in prizes on DraftKings Early Bird Best Ball Contest. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most states. Restrictions apply. See terms at DraftKings.com. Sponsored by DraftKings.
All right, Coop, as we move on to running backs, Scott did ask, and I said we would say this, rank Kyler at quarterback for 2026. And what QB number would you have him at?
Yes, I'm actually going through and doing my best ball rankings now. I don't actually have his exact spot right now, but for me, I'm willing to take him as a high-end QB2 or even as my QB1. And I'll tell you, it's a strategy we've been using at tight end. I've been using at quarterback. I will say, Jim, I used the double tapping quarterback move to win the Kings Classic this year. Let's go, baby. And I know you won the auction.
We'll talk about it in a second. Yeah,
we'll talk.
Keep going.
Yeah, big dogs in the house here, but I'm willing to double tap quarterback. So if I end up with a quarterback, in my opinion, that is safe but boring, you know what I mean? Like if I wait and take QB 10 off the board or 11 or 12, and it's like Jared Goff or even Brock Purdy or Dak Prescott, I will draft a second quarterback, and it will be the highest risk, highest reward guy available, which is Kyler Murray. So for me, it's not even really a matter of where he's ranked. It's a matter of the type of build I'm doing. So if I don't get Josh Allen, Lamar, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, that type of guy, Joe Burrow, then I'm going to draft two. And Kyler Murray is the exact kind of guy that I want to be one of those two.
We earlier talked about Malik Willis, and we said he runs at least 5 times a game. And so guess what? We know Kyler's a runner. So if you want to penalize him for what happened in Arizona, then go ahead and do it. But I'm going to be happy to put him right around quarterback 8 because he's going to run. He is going to run. And I know there's an injury history there. I get that. It's not the worst injury history. And the one injury, the ACL, cost him parts of 2 seasons. And that's like double penalizing him, actually, if you're looking at that. So be careful there. But yeah, quarterback 8 will be about right. But like you, Coop.
In all-time fantasy points per game, all-time, he is quarterback 8.
Right.
He's quarterback 8 all-time in fantasy points per game. Yeah, all-time. Dude, don't look at that list because it'll blow your mind. Deshaun Watson is QB 4.
Oh man, before the garbage went on, the guy could play some football. And
That's what I'm
Coop
saying.
mentioned earlier the Kings Classic, and man, Coop and I playing the Kings. We drafted in Canton, Ohio, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, epic event. And tell you what, Coop, you kept me from winning 2 belts in 1 year. We drafted an auction and a snake draft league. Made it to the finals of both. But Coop, you had a great team in that snake draft league, and you ended up taking me down in the final week. So congratulations on that belt, which will probably be arriving in the mail at some point soon. How did you win that league?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it was the classic. So I've been using yin and yang tight end for years, and I basically it's a 14-team league, and I was drafting from the top spot. So I said, hey, you know what I'm going to do here? I'm just going to jam on running backs and wide receivers, right? And taking running backs early and then taking very safe wide receivers, guys like Zay Flowers and Jalen Waddle, because I know there were multiple flex spots. And I just loaded up until all my running back and wide receiver and flex spots, and even one bench spot were filled. And then I took 2 tight ends and 2 quarterbacks. And the tight ends I took were Hunter Henry was my safe guy. Kyle Pitts was my upside guy. Kyle Pitts absolutely rug pulled JJ Zacharias. I had no business beating his team until Kyle Pitts scored the 3-touchdown game. And then I took Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence as my quarterbacks, and Trevor Lawrence, they were both great, but Trevor Lawrence ended up finishing, I think, like quarterback 3 or 4 on the year. Yeah. So that was the play. That was the play. It worked well. And I'm telling you, this year I had to do the Sirius XM show during the auction draft. So I didn't get a chance to go at you. I'm trying to see if I can get my show rescheduled to another time so I can duke it out in that one too.
Man, well, great job in that, Coop. It was a great year. So let's move to running backs. Kenneth Walker goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. And look, this is a great spot. But, Coop, I'm going to say a few things. First of all, Kansas City, it goes back to Cincinnati last year. I told people, draft Chase Brown, because defenses were always going to worry about the pass and Joe Burrow. And I said there's free yards on every carry, and that's why you like Chase Brown. And it's the same thing. When you play Kansas City, no defense is ever going to say, hey, Patrick Mahomes, beat us. We're going to stop the run today. Not going to happen. So Walker is in a spot, and Kansas City's needed an explosive back since Pacheco was healthy earlier in his career. This is an opportunity to get that. The only possible worry, Coop, is Walker isn't necessarily that guy who just immediately gets downhill and goes, and that's what the Chiefs kind of want. Walker tends to dance a little bit. I'm still high on him here because I think his explosiveness is still going to play well, but I think they're going to have to coach him a little bit more to get downhill faster. I'm nitpicking. I think this is a great fantasy pick. What are your thoughts on Walker ending up in Kansas City?
You're right, though. He runs everything like it's a zone blocked scheme and not like it's man, right? So, and the thing with Kubiak, he runs a lot of zone, but he mixes in the man plays to keep everybody honest, right? For those out there, the cheat code when you're watching football is when you're watching the offensive line, because you should watch the offensive line when the snap happens. Watch the linemen. If they all move in the same direction, that's very likely a zone blocked play. If they are moving in different directions, especially if someone's pulling, that's often a man block play. Like everyone's man on man, hat on hat. You're trying to open a specific hole. So Kenneth Walker does really well when you have everybody moving in the same direction and you're kind of reading the play and picking the hole. When the hole is designed and he needs to just go through it, he does not do well. Zach Charbonnet does that very well, and that's why we saw the split we saw. That's why the team won the Super Bowl, because they figured it out and did it the right way for what they had. But I trust that Kenneth Walker can be utilized that way and can learn that. We have to remember that he actually missed like the entire offseason when everything was being installed. So he actually missed a big chunk of the installation period when he was supposed to be learning these things and getting these reps. So I'm confident that he's going to be great here. We'll have to see where the ADP goes, because it could go through the roof.
And that's the thing, right? If somebody's going to take Walker in the first round, it might pan out. I'm not willing to go there. Yeah, I'd be willing to go mid-second if that was the layout of the running backs, and that'd be aggressive. I don't think he's making it out of the second round in any draft, because Kansas City name with him and the late season Super Bowl performance, I still think that's going to weigh heavy on people's mind. Where are you willing to take him?
Yeah, so right now on Underdog, which has rolling ADP, so it gets adjusted over a few days. That's kind of the best example of ADP we have, FFPC or Underdog. He goes to pick 19 on average, which I'm comfortable taking him there. I'm with you on that. If he gets steamed up all the way into the first round, there's just too many names there that are like that. There's no question marks, right? With my first round pick, I want certainty. I want to know for sure that I'm getting what I got last year, and it was great. like Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamar Chase, Jonathan Taylor, Jackson Smith-Njigba, even got, Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb. Those type guys are just looking fantastic for me. And I will say there's another back, a sneaky winner of free agency that I have over Kenneth Walker right now. And ranking him that way might make it so I don't get a lot of Kenneth Walker. Is I love how the offseason has panned out for the Chargers. And I am very excited about Marion Hampton.
Oh my gosh,
Very
right?
excited.
I am very happy to see him in a comfortable spot, and hopefully those tackles can stay healthy, because that was just a rough year. But yes, Hampton is in a wonderful situation. Let's move. Travis Etienne goes from the Jaguars to the New Orleans Saints. Saints were a bottom-tier offensive line last year. They did have a lot of injuries, so there's that. Their left tackle, Kelvin Banks, he looked decent. They did bring in David Edwards in free agency at guard. That could certainly help. But Travis Etienne, I want to point this out, Coop. And look, I was in on Etienne last year, and I benefited greatly from it, but it was a scary ride in some ways. When we started the season, the first 3 weeks, Etienne was tearing it up as a runner, getting big yardage, explosive plays, finding the end zone a little bit. And then he had a spell of about 4 weeks where the rushing production was down. He wasn't finding the end zone, and it looked like it was going to go badly. And then all of a sudden, down the stretch of the season, he just started being involved as a receiver more. The big runs were still not coming there, and that was with Liam Cohen's system. And Etienne cashed it. There's one game he had 3 receiving touchdowns. So with Etienne, I don't think his season truly shows who he is. He struggles to run inside. He has hit or miss ability on the outside. His best utility in my mind is still as a receiver. Now, Alvin Kamara is still there, $3 million guaranteed. Now, if he sticks around, he's going to be a receiver, and that would hurt Etienne. If Kamara goes away, I'm a lot more bullish on Etienne because I believe the receiving has to be there for him. Where do you stand on Etienne going to the New Orleans Saints?
Yeah, that's the thing. And the whole thing with him announcing that he has changed, that he wants his name to be pronounced the way it was as when he was younger versus, I guess he just let everyone call him Etienne like we're calling him right now. I guess it's supposed to be Achan. I mean, at what point do we get the memo from SiriusXM that we got to change it here, Jim? Are you willing to go there?
Achan, like Devon Achan?
That's what he said. He said that his name is pronounced like Achan.
Like, so we got 2 Achans now.
Well, we got 2 Achans, Travis Achan and Devon Achan, and it's tough, man. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna start honoring his wish, but I do love the landing spot. Because I like Kellen Moore a lot. The thing about Kellen Moore is that the last few years he hasn't really thrown to the running back a lot in general. I think that's a big part of why Alvin Kamara struggled. Saquon Barkley obviously had his incredible rushing year, but he had the fewest receptions he's pretty much ever had. Austin Eckler was on pace for like 90 targets with him, but it definitely was not. It didn't look anything like what it typically does for players like that. Like, he doesn't like calling those plays. I think I'm with you in that if Kamara is gone, it's wheels up. If Kamara is there, then I got to pump the brakes a little bit, because the thing about Kamara, they did pay him a bunch of money. They're kind of shifting money around to get him out of there. But if they just say, hey, you know what, let's just run it with these 2 guys, that's not appealing to me. I need to have all the high leverage situations, right? I don't want to have a split where there's a clear, better pass down back, or even just a clear back that they want to use on pass downs. Because it's, even if he's not better, like, it's held guys back. Bucky Irving, very annoying situation for him as well, because like they used Rachaad White for those downs, even if Bucky Irving was the best pass catching back in his class, and now they've signed Kenneth Gainwell. It's just, it really stops me from ranking those guys where I would want to rank them. And I'll tell you, like, Bucky Irving's ADP, where he goes now in early drafts, maybe that'll come down with the news of the Kenneth Gainwell signing, but I'm not drafting him there. And for the time being, I'm not really drafting Travis Achan, if that's what it's going to be, where he goes, because I just I can't do it.
Hey, Jamie brings up a point here about, so I wonder if Trevor Achan is going to still be called Trevor Etienne, and let Travis be called Achan. I wonder if he's going to pull that. So we'll have to find out how they're going to handle that one, or if it's an
Devon Achan should come out and say it's pronounced H-E-N.
Right. That'd be fabulous.
Just do the full
oh my gosh,
the switcheroo.
You know what? This comment is interesting. Going back, saying Kansas City hasn't had a 1,000-yard rusher in 9 consecutive seasons, so it's a hard pass on Kenneth Walker. But look, they drafted Edwards-Helaire. He was a bust, so they lost years there. I remember Damian Williams was toting the rock for them. They didn't care about the running back position, and So, and Pacheco was hurt frequently. So to say off the cuff, they haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher. Well, yeah, I get it. But guess what? They didn't care about the running back position. This is the first time they've cared about it. So what do you say to that, Coop?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is when you allocate resources, you use those guys like that. So if you're going to go cheapo on it and spread the ball around, you're not going to get one guy that has 1,000 yards. But if you do spend up like they just did, it would be foolish of them not to lean into that. And I also just want to remind people that we've had RB1 overall seasons, even in half PPR, from guys that did not have 1,000 rushing yards. Rushing yards isn't the end of the world. I mean, Alvin Kamara has never had 1,000 rushing yards. Austin Eckler had an RB1 overall PPR season. He has never had 1,000 rushing yards. Like rushing yards, don't care. I care about yards from scrimmage and receptions and targets. A target is worth more than a carry on average, not a reception, a target. So I'm more worried about the guy's overall usage. And when you give a guy that kind of money, I would be shocked if they didn't lean into him big time here, especially with Patrick Mahomes coming off a pretty serious injury.
Coop, I had no idea that Alvin Kamara never had 1,000-yard rushing season.
Yeah,
you're 100% right on it.
Right?
Never even thought about it.
Blows
this
your
is a
mind,
guy
dude.
who was your running back 3, your running back 2. Oh my gosh. Wow, that is an amazing statistic, Coop.
Not worried about it. That's what I mean. It's like I don't care. I care about yards from scrimmage and I care about touchdowns. And you can fall if you're the quarterback for Patrick Mahomes, you can fall backwards into touchdowns. I watched LeGarrette Blount score 18 touchdowns playing with Tom Brady. Is that because LeGarrette Blount is incredible? No, it's because the offense was an absolute steamboat. Like I watched Jamal Williams score 20 touchdowns. I watched Raheem Mostert score insane touchdowns. Like if the offense is humming, and to your point on Chase Brown, like if the offense is cruising, you get those plays by default. I think we forget about how a real football game pans out. You know what I mean? We're thinking to ourselves, like, how does this guy, score from 15 yards out? When we should be thinking, what happens if there's a pass interference in the end zone? Right? Like who gets that touchdown? It's going to be Kenneth Walker. It's going to be Chase Brown. It's going to be these guys. So it's more for a running back, the team does matter more. For guys like wide receiver and tight end, now it matters more about game script and scheme and those type things. But for the running backs, like the team does matter. It's not an agnostic position. And that's why when it comes to my dynasty drafts, I don't at quarterback and wide receiver, I don't care as much about the team. When it comes to tight end, I do care about the scheme and how he fits. With running back, I mean, especially first round pick running backs, that's 5 years of that guy's career. Najee Harris was like stuck. You know what I mean? Like if you don't like the scheme and you don't like the location, that should factor in. So we got to keep those things in mind. And whoever the running back is for the Chiefs is in a good spot.
No doubt about that. Next, we go Rico Dowdle goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Coop, my issue with Dowdle was this. The first year and 2 years ago, not first year, but 2 years ago in Dallas when he broke out, he went over 1,000 yards, got it all in the second half of the season, most of it. And so we didn't really know what he could do for a full season. And so it was fine, but you take it at face value. He had really good blocking in Dallas. The run blocking in Dallas has been good. Regardless of injuries, the run blocking has been fine. And then last year in Carolina, we saw Dowdle have an incredible stretch, and the line was coming along well for Carolina. Dowdle fizzled out hard. In his last 9 games, 3.2 yards per carry. He was down, and you could just tell he was losing steam. And I wondered all along if Dallas, if he had that great half in the first half, I'm starting to think now he may be a running back who wears down. Now paired with Jaylen Warren. I really don't know how to parse this because – in my mind, Warren is a significantly better running back. He's never really been given a chance to be like the complete guy, and I don't think that'll happen here. I do think this is a 1-2 situation. How much difference do you put between these two backs in the pecking order for fantasy?
Yeah, I think that what we kind of learned last year is that they kind of tried to move Jaylen Warren into that Najee Harris role and then use Kenneth Gainwell kind of in the other role, and it didn't pan out kind of the way they hoped. I think they've got to realize that Jaylen Warren probably is better as kind of that third down, pass down back. The other thing that I always keep in mind with free agency is like who's making the promises, right? And it's very rare that you get examples like this one where Austin Eckler, when he signed with the Commanders, came out and said, oh, by the way, I talked to Anthony Lynn, who is his head coach previously with the Chargers, and he is the running back coach for the Commanders. And he goes, I talked to Anthony Lynn, and he said that we're going to run a split backfield just like we used to do in the Chargers, and that sounded great to me. And that's when I had my best years, and that's what we're going to do. Like, Austin Eckler is willing to talk to us. He comes on Sirius XM all the time. He does live streams. Like, it's great. But when I see Rico Dowdle signing with the Steelers, you ask yourself, is this just okay, the scouts like him and the corporate, is done at the GM level and it's just a salary type move? Or did he talk to Mike McCarthy, who he played for with the Cowboys, and were there promises made, and was there a plan in place? And to me, when you have a situation like this, like, Rico Dowdle's not going to go there unless Mike McCarthy has made some sort of level of promise in terms of his usage. Because you go back to last year, Rico Dowdle in the Panthers locker room straight up said, I don't know why I'm not getting more touches. And then a reporter goes, do you think that'll factor into free agency? And he said, of course it will. He straight up said, I'm leaving because I didn't get the ball enough. So with the guys like that, I don't think it's as much about money. I think he made it clear that it's about getting the rock. And I think Mike McCarthy was the guy that set up and said, hey, remember me? Remember the times we had? Why don't you come here and you'll get the ball? So that is concerning for me for Jaylen Warren. And I'm honestly, it ends up being one of those backfields that I just move both guys down and I put Caleb Williams in the way back of the closet. Sorry, Caleb Johnson, right? Like, Caleb Johnson.
Right. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, it's just incredible the draft capital spent on him, and he can't figure it out at all. This move is like a death sentence for him. So for me, I don't know. Like, Rico Dowdle, the way he's been outspoken, I can't imagine what he would say and do if he just completely got phased out. So I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a honest competition. I think Rico Dowdle is going to get a leg up on the starting job.
All right, I love that call. Next, Kenneth Gainwell goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You mentioned this earlier. I'll point this out. Aaron Rodgers is so afraid to get hit that he will get the ball out of his hands at the first possible instant. So what happened? Kenny Gainwell catches 73 passes in Pittsburgh. It's not only because they didn't have receivers. It's because you see Rodgers wants to turtle. As soon as somebody's coming at him, he wants to get in the shell and not get hit. Well, getting the ball to Gainwell, that was phenomenal. Now, Gainwell had 8 touchdowns. 4 of those came in 2 games that Jaylen Warren missed. One was that surprise game in London when all of a sudden he starts against the Vikings, goes off in that one. But otherwise, 23 rushing yards a game for Gainwell. I don't think that level of receiving we're ever going to see again. Philadelphia had plenty of opportunities to involve Gainwell more, and they never thought it was a priority to do that. So I just think Gainwell had a season out of nowhere. I think he's a fine back, but I don't think he's a big threat to Bucky Irving. But like you said, they did pay him. They did bring him in. They moved Rachaad White out, who they clearly were disenchanted with. They were trying to phase him down in many ways over time. What are your thoughts on Gainwell landing in Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I think the landing spot and the contract tell you everything you need to know on this one, right? Because he seemed like a guy that wanted to leave to get a bigger role and a better shot, and it looks like that wasn't available. So instead, what he did is he took the most money he could get to do the role that he's been having, which is the pass down back, right? So I think that's how it settled out, right? 2 years, $14 million. Like, first you go and say, hey, does anyone want me to be the starting running back for your team? And pretty much everybody said no. So then the next move is, okay, who has this role for me? And who's going to give me the most money? And that's the landing spot. And people, if anyone was following Rachaad White and his comments and the things he was saying on his way out the door, like, they were done with him and he was done with them. For some reason, Rachaad White even came out and said that he doesn't think Todd Bowles should be calling the defensive plays. Why would a running back come out and say that about his head coach? Without, I mean, I don't think the head coach should call the defensive plays. Why would he even say that if he was happy with them and they were happy with him? I think what happened here is they liked the role. They didn't like the player. They got rid of the player. They brought in a new player to play that role. And it is annoying for Bucky Irving because Bucky Irving, for me, is going to start. And he's going to be the goal line back, but it takes out of the equation without an injury the possibility of him being a guy that gets like 70 targets, right? Like, I just don't see why you sign Gainwell if you're going to just fully feature Bucky. So he just becomes another one of those guys where he's probably going to be a guy that's in your lineup every single week, but is he going to come out and be a top 5 running back? Probably not unless Kenneth Gainwell gets hurt.
Exactly. Quick hit. Tyler Allgeier goes to the Cardinals. Allgeier had 3.6 yards per carry behind a really good offensive line. I know they were without Caleb McGarry last year, the right tackle, but good line in Atlanta, 3.6 yards per carry. Did score 8 touchdowns on 143 carries. That's unsustainable. It's one of those things that was there. Goes to the Cardinals. It seems like the Cardinals may not be enamored with Trey Benson, their former third-round pick. That seems to be. James Conner did take a reduced contract, but I have to think, and I've said this, Conner is still the heart and soul of that team, even though he's making a little bit of money. If he's healthy to start the season, and I know the money would say Allgeier is the running back, I just don't see how they push Conner completely to the curb, but they know he'll miss time, and Allgeier may be a nice transition plan. What's your quick hit on Allgeier heading there?
I hate it. That's it. I hate it. James Conner, I think you're right. James Conner, they love him. He's the heart and soul of the team. He's a tough guy. He works. His workouts are crazy. You look at the pictures of his back, it's like insane, dude. Like, this guy is absolutely, he gets hurt, but he works hard. And I just think it's hard for people to come into an organization like that and just totally displace a guy like that. So I truly hate it. If I'm not going to be completely out, I might take a stab on whoever ends up being the cheapest of the 3, even if it's Trey Benson, like way late. Like, I don't like the situation. I think Allgeier could have put himself in a lot better situation to succeed. And I've already mentioned that I really don't like the Cardinals organization. So there are, yeah. When Brad Holmes for the Lions or Les Snead for the Rams or James Gladwell or Howie Roseman, when they do something, I can kind of figure out what they're trying to do. And if I can't figure it out, I at least trust those guys. When the Cardinals do something like this, not only can I not really figure it out, but my first instinct is to say they don't know what they're doing. So I don't like it, and I'm not going to really be interested in those players.
All right, we will go over more free agent moves after we take a short break. All right, now we come back with wide receivers. And the wide receivers, this one's quick because he's in the same spot. Alec Pierce stays home with the Colts. Daniel Jones coming back from an Achilles. We're not quite sure how that shakes out. Where are you ranking Pierce? Since there's not much to change about his landing spot because he's in the same spot. So how do you view him for 2026?
Yeah, so I'm going to put, for me, it's pretty simple. I look at the other guys that are kind of those deeper targets. I mean, this guy, his ADOT was like almost 20 yards, right?
Right.
So I'm looking at those guys that are the kind of deeper targets in their offense, which I love these guys for best ball. Alec Pierce had the second most long receptions in the league behind only Jackson Smith and Jigba, which is saying something because he was crazy with those. I put him wherever I consider guys like Jamison Williams and guys like Devontae Smith, like where I'm picking those type guys, I think Alec Pierce probably belongs in that conversation now because Michael Pittman's gone. He probably will get a little more of that intermediate work. You look at that depth chart, man, and it's like, the thing is they could draft a wide receiver. They're kind of in position to. Right. Either they're going to elevate Josh Downs and let him be an every down player, which would be good for him, but he's not a very good blocker. No. And we've seen teams do that with like Wanda Robinson's a terrible blocker. Literally one of the worst graded blockers at wide receiver in the league for a couple of years. And they just said, whatever, he's moving the chain. So we're going to run him a ton. Like they could do that. But like you look at the people saying, oh, he can't do that. Look at the depth chart. Who's going to do it? Who's going to be a full-time play guy? Ashton Doolin, Anthony Gould on that team is smaller than Josh Downs, Right. So either they draft somebody or they don't. So right now I'm just kind of treating it like, okay, they're going to run the offense like this. And it's going to be those 3 guys. So I'm willing to take him where we're taking those other guys. I wanted Alec Pierce to leave, though. I wanted him to go to a team where, like it would have been really great. The scheme that we talked about earlier with the fullbacks and the 2 tight end sets where it's 2 wide receivers. Like imagine if he went to the 49ers instead of Mike Evans. Imagine if he even went to like the Raiders where it's like going to be super highly consolidated targets, the Dolphins, like those type schemes would have been great for him. This one, we'll have to see what they do in the draft, but I think, got a big bag of money. They moved on from Michael Pittman, who they love there. So they must truly believe in the guy.
Quick word on Downs. Not every receiver is called to block all the time. We understand It's a big part of today's game, but there are other ways you could contribute. Downs could stretch the field. You could run play concepts where you use Downs to clear space. And there could be ways you could, and Steichen a smart coach. So it's in the realm that they could find a way to mitigate his lack of blocking prowess by using him in different ways. So we'll see what happens with it. But hopefully we get Josh Downs in the field because he is an outstanding receiver and he would only make the team better in that scenario. We move on.
Can I say real quick?
Yeah,
please.
Please.
We've seen the Colts in years past do basically just go to like a lot of 2 tight end sets with a smaller wide receiver who was terrible at blocking. And it was great. It was makes us seem old maybe, but T.Y. Hilton was a terrible blocker. And
right?
Zero in the book, right? He was an awful blocker. But what they would do is run a lot of two tight end sets and just always have him in motion. They'd always have him step back off the line. He would never play split end where he could get jammed in man-to-man. Right. Like there are ways, you can finagle these guys around where they're not getting jammed up and where they don't have, like you said, they don't have to do a ton of blocking. But I think, you do worry if they do lean heavily into that because that's how Tank Dell got hurt the first time, right? Like just playing a full-time role for Bobby Slowick and blocking on goal line and doing things like that player should never have been doing. So be interesting. The draft will be everything for Josh Downs, everything.
100%. We move. Romeo Doubs goes to the New England Patriots. This one, a lot of people are not happy with it, but I see it this way, Coop. Drake May, he has Kayshon Boutte, great downfield receiver. Matt Collins, I like him, but really he's a downfield guy. He did a little more than that. They have Demario Davis, a slot guy. They need a chain mover. They need an X receiver, an alpha receiver. Doubs was only asked to do certain things in Green Bay. There were always explosive plays that were dialed up for Christian Watson, who was healthy, Jaden Reed, who was healthy, and others. But Doubs was not needed to be more in the Green Bay offense than he was. He is going to be that great third down and tight contested catch player for Drake May, but he's more than that. If they have called him to work in the middle of the field, he's been effective when he's been called to do so. He can find those spots in the zone. And New England had that super easy schedule last year, so they were leading most weeks. They're going to have a much more difficult schedule. They're going to be trailing a bit. They're going to have to throw more. They want to be a run-heavy team, but I don't know how much of that luxury they're going to have as they did this year. They're going to throw a lot. I love Romeo Doubs. He's going to get volume here. And I think he is better than people think because he was limited in Green Bay. I want to hear your thoughts on it.
I knew you would love Romeo Doubs because you're a real life football guy, right? You are. So of course you would love a guy that plays split ends. He can beat the jam. He can go one-on-one. Jair Alexander used to always say he was tough in practice. Right. He run blocks. He does all those things. He's even got a little diva to him. So he's the full package. I will say this. I'm a Patriots fan. I'm waiting to see what the guaranteed money is. This contract should be set up where for those unfamiliar, there's something called incentives unlikely to be earned. And in the NFL, all that is based on, right, is what you did the previous year. So you can load up contracts with, like, for Romeo Doubs, they can say, go out and have 800 yards. You get an extra $1 million, right? And then you get another $1 million at 900, right? Like they did it with Stephon Diggs. If the contract is set up like that, then that would be great because that doesn't count against the cap. And, it kind of counts against future cap. Like if they set it up that way, then I'll be very interested. But the way it looks, right? $68 million. I think it might be $68 million up to $80 million. They haven't really even given us the information.
Right.
One thing that we do know is that if he got $40 million guaranteed as part of this deal, then what he's done in his career up to now is not going to cut it. It's not even close. Like statistically right now, he's basically the same guy that Darius Slayton was through his first 4 years. Darius Slayton had more yards than Romeo Doubs has in the same number of games, exactly 59 games. Like this guy needs to come out and have 1,000. If you give him virtually every guy that got $40 million in their contract gives you 1,000 yards, except for Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley even did give you 1,000 yards couple of the first few years there. Like he needs to come out and blow his best season out of the water because 55 catches for 724 yards, that's not going to do it. We could have got that from Kayshon Boutte. So that's it. And I think that he is going to come out and have a career year this year. I think in fantasy football, you should bet on that because the Patriots are betting on that. But this is also setting up for a major disappointment if he doesn't do that because it's looking like, the deal's got to have $40 million guaranteed in it, right?
Right, for sure.
It's got to. So, we don't know for sure yet, but it's got to. And if that's the case, this guy needs to obviously take things to another level. And I'm hoping he can.
Yeah, and again, this quarterback is going to be really good from Drake May is a very fine quarterback, so I'm excited for that. Let's talk some Mike Evans goes to the San Francisco 49ers. Coop, you hear me talk about all the time. Age and injuries, age and injury recovery. These are real things. When players take a beating over their career, the body breaks down. In the first 10 years, Evans missed 8 games. In the last 2 years, he's missed 12. It's just one of those things. And last year, the first 3 games of the year before he got hurt the first time, he was averaging 5 catches and 47 yards. He's on the decline. And then I worry about the move to San Francisco. Brock Purdy at his best, rhythm and timing passer. And yes, he had an ex-receiver a couple of years ago in Ayuk. And when that season went well, Ayuk is winning instantly. He's getting over the middle, getting over the linebackers. These are rhythm, middle of the field throws. Evans is a boundary X receiver, a big one. And I just don't see Brock Purdy as that quarterback that's dropping back, waiting to get to the perimeter. I mean, there'll be throws there, but that's not the way the 49ers often do business. I don't know what the fit looks like to me. Now, Kittle's going to miss some time, maybe. That might say something. I'm worried with the Trent Williams trade talk, the left tackle. If they trade him and Purdy doesn't have that level of time from missing an all-world tackle, that even makes throwing to the perimeter downfield even dicier. I think it's a wide receiver 3 ceiling for Evans. Am I crazy?
So here's the thing. I think that this landing spot for Evans is the best one possible for an aging guy. And I'll tell you why.
Good.
Jim.
Let's hear it.
Everything you said is correct. But what about the possibility that they actually use Mike Evans the way they've been using all these other guys? Mike Evans' his whole career has had to be way out on the boundary with his foot tethered to the line, fist fighting Marshawn Lattimore, and then Chris Godwin gets to go in the slot and run free and do all these things. People always say oh, when Chris Godwin was wide receiver 2 in all of fantasy football, people were saying Chris Godwin's better than Mike Evans. I don't think that was ever true in a vacuum.
No.
If you had to make Chris Godwin go play out wide and let Mike Evans play in the slot, Mike Evans would have ripped people's faces off in fantasy football. He would have had 2,000 yards. It's like he's had to do the hard job his whole career. And he finally, in free agency, said, hey, who's got an easier job for me to do? And he goes to a team that uses a fullback, uses a ton of 2 tight end sets, Luke Farrell and George Kittle and Jake Tonjes until Kittle gets back. And they use a ton of pre-snap motion, and they got these guys lined up in all sorts of funky spots, big slot, flanker with your foot back. He actually, for the first time ever, might not need to play like a big fist-fighting maniac on the outside. This could be a spot where he can age gracefully. So I get it, definitely with the injury concerns, but this is a spot where the targets are forcefully highly consolidated because of the fullback and because of the Luke Farrell snaps and all that stuff. I think as far as landing spots, this is one of the better ones for him. So all those concerns, those would have been so much worse if he went to a team to be their right? If he just went to be like the sacrificial X somewhere and for a bunch of money, that would have been that's where he would have done terrible, I think. But in this spot, I think it is one of the rare spots that is friendly for him. So I
like the counterpoint.
I kind of like it. But the thing is, everything I said doesn't go against anything you said. If they do put him out wide and make him be that sacrificial X, and that's something they want in their offense, I think he is going to struggle. He is going to struggle because he has struggled recently trying to do that, But he could, they moved Larry Fitz inside at the end of his career, and it rejuvenated him. So maybe they do a little, maybe they get a little creative with Mike, and I think that's a big selling point to get him in the door.
Yeah, the Fitz one's tough because, and I love the comp with that, but man, Fitz was just the rarest of cats in what he was able to do. And that's again, it's a great aging comp. At 33, I remember Julio Jones. Where'd he go to Tennessee or something? And I just remember, and then DeAndre Hopkins was 32 and he went somewhere. And these superstar Hall of Fame type receivers late in their career at that age, there are very, very few of them that could produce at any type of acceptable level at 33 years old. Fitzgerald was one of the very, very few. Jerry Rice played till 40. And then
you need the role change. That's why you need the role change. That's right. Because Julio Jones was asked to go to Tennessee and be the big split end. And he at that stage, he couldn't do that anymore. You had to change. You need the role change. So that's what I'm banking on with Mike Evans. But if he struggles, and it'll likely be because they want him to do the things that he did for 10 straight years in Tampa Bay, and I don't think he's really in a position to do that anymore. It's very difficult. You look at Brian Thomas Jr., Liam Cohen asked him to do that. Liam Cohen, Brian Thomas Jr. used to be like a slot flanker type guy. They asked him to play that role, and it turns out very difficult role to play. Like only super mega stars do that. And you're right. If they use him that way, so it makes him risky no matter what. But I just want to open your eyes to a possibility where they say, hey, no more hard times. Like we're gonna put you in motion. We're gonna give you some easier looks, some friendlier looks. So that's on the table too.
No, I love the conversation, and you and I are two football guys, so this is one that I'm going to add one more layer and ask you about this one. By putting him into that role you're hoping for, does that subject him to more hits at 33 years old with a body that's missed 12 games over 2 years? Because if he's in the middle of the field as opposed to the boundary, now he has people from different directions hitting him. What's the concern level there?
There's definitely concern. 100% he's going to be asked. I think when you give that guy that kind of money and bring him into that kind of scheme, he's going to be getting the ball a lot, in my opinion.
That is only 14 mil, Coop. It was only 14 mil.
Yeah, but I'm injury agnostic when it comes to fantasy football. If we're in August and he is hurt, like if we get to August and he has a hamstring injury, I will fade him because he is actively hurt. One thing I do not do is play Dr. Fortune Teller and sit back and say this guy is going to get hurt, because we've tried to do that a bunch of times. Anyone that tried to do that last year with Christian McCaffrey ended up with egg on their face. Like people were a couple of years before they did it with McCaffrey again when they drafted Jonathan Taylor over McCaffrey, and then Jonathan Taylor got hurt and McCaffrey didn't. The Dr. Fortune Teller game for me, I worry about it when they do get hurt. I worry about it in season when they're hurt. I worry about it when they're coming off injury even. If he's healthy in August, I'm not going to fade him because of a potential injury. That's just the way I play.
And Coop, I am injury agnostic. I'm not age agnostic. I think that's where I differ. I'm completely injury agnostic, but age is a very big concern for me.
If I believe the player is physically going to decline in production and has been declining in production, then I'll fade that guy. That's a production thing versus an injury thing. So for me, I'm not worried about injuries. I'm worried, I am to some degree worried about age, but I will say, as far as landing spots go, it could have been way worse. It could have been absolutely way worse.
Love the discussion, Coop. I can't wait to see how this one shakes out. I hope the best for Mike Evans. I hope he puts up 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns. Nothing would make me happier than that, because, like I said, best for Mike Evans. So I hope you're right on this one. Love to see it. One more receiver.
One last note is that the highest yards per attempt season all time by a quarterback was 2023 Brock Purdy. So in terms of efficiency and setting guys up to succeed that do kind of run 30, 40-yard routes down the boundary, like Brock Purdy can make those plays happen. And we watched Sam Darnold in this same, Clint Kubiak was the pass game coordinator for the 49ers in 2023. We just watched them have, Sam Darnold have one of the most efficient seasons in that metric as well. So I do think that a lot of the things about the landing spot are friendly. To your point, though, Mike Evans himself could be a problem.
For sure. I want to go quickly through the last wide receiver here. He might deserve more time, but time constraints. I want to get through some tight ends. Wan'Dale Robinson goes to the Tennessee Titans. Look, last year, 92 catches, 1,014 yards. Yeah, but Malik Neighbors was lost in week 4 with an injury for a season ender. And so I think that baseline is still 700 to 800 yards. I think the landing spot is fine enough. I just think Wan'Dale Robinson was great the last 2 years. I think he gets overdrafted this year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so as well. There are spots that would have been better for him to go to a team that had that already had a big split end where he could be the slot flanker, but the quarterback is really good. Like he could have gone to the Broncos. He could have gone to the Steelers instead of Pittman. Those would have been better spots. I think what happened here is he was familiar with the coach. They gave him a lot of money, and the role was there for him. And it's going to be good for Cam Ward, but maybe not the best landing spot for him. And also, it totally vaporizes Chimere Dike. Chimere Dike was top 10 in slot routes, wide receiver 10 in slot routes run last year. Wan'Dale Robinson was wide receiver 2 in that category. So in your kick return leagues, you can keep drafting Chimere Dike, but it just couldn't have been literally the worst possible player you could have added to the roster for him.
Yeah, not good there. So very frustrating because I love DK. I was really best for him. Yeah. All right,
you were in on DK very early. I always listen to your show before our show on Sundays, and you were in on Chimere Dike. You might have been the person that first said the name where I learned to pronounce it.
We loved the tape and we watched that and Coop, and we probably saw right away. I mean, this guy is a little bit different the way he moves, and it was very fun to watch that. So yeah, unfortunately, a little cold water put on that. Let's move to tight end position. I don't want to spend much time on Travis Kelce because he stays home with the Chiefs. He'll turn 37 a couple weeks into the season on the 5th of October. It's like week 4. Right. He did have 851 and 5 touchdowns. So look, I mean, if he's out there, his floor has to be at least 700 yards, right, Coop?
Yin and yang tight end, baby. If you wait and take Travis Kelce, start him. He'll start for you week 1. Use a bench spot on the highest risk, highest reward player you can. Because the thing about Travis Kelce is he's going to have a good floor and he's going to maintain name value, trade value, especially in casual leagues. So if you go out, take Kelce, throw a high risk guy on the bench like a Okonkwo, if that guy hits, Travis Kelce is super tradable. I mean, we have to admit it, right, Jim? Like certain names remain valuable just because of the name. Like you throw Travis Kelce into a trade, people are going to say, "Oh, okay, Kelce." No matter how bad he's doing. I mean, it's just the way it goes, man. We've been doing this a long time. Like, right? There are guys that like people will put the blinders on and say, "Well, what if?" You know.
You mentioned Okonkwo, so we will bring him up. Okonkwo to the Washington Commanders. Okonkwo, even his first year out there, he was running a real wide receiver route. I remember that first year. I remember him like winning one-on-one against a corner in the red zone. It was a thing of beauty. But Tennessee never really leaned into using him a lot. And in my mind, I thought that was a mistake, but I'm not in the house. That said, the Commanders love throwing to the tight end. Zach Ertz couldn't run for the last couple of years, and yet they featured him heavily. Jaden Daniels is on the field, very good at throwing to the tight end. Okonkwo, Benson, it's not a question here. So what do you think of Okonkwo going to the Commanders?
Yeah, there's only 3 tight ends that have had 3 or more 40-plus yard plays in the same season over the last half decade or so. It's George Kittle, obviously. It's Kyle Pitts, and it's Okonkwo. This guy ran a 4.52, which is the same 40 time as George Kittle, right? We're talking 95th percentile, right? Maybe 98th percentile speed. Like the one thing he's missing is size, but he landed in a spot where they have used a big slot tight end. John Bates is the inline tight end. Zach Ertz has been the slot guy. Like the landing spot's great. Now we just got to make sure that they don't bring in a target hog in some capacity, right? Because Terry McLaurin is not a big target guy. Like his monster season, the 13 touchdown season, how many targets do you have? Like 115, 120?
That's it.
This is not a guy that's going to come out like CeeDee Lamb and get 170 targets. So there are targets available there. If they bring Deebo Samuel back, I'll be fine with that. If they don't draft a wide receiver in the first round, even second or third round pick, I'd be fine with that. Like I think Spot's looking pretty good for Chig for what he does. So I love it. The speed is tight end is one of the few positions where straight line speed does matter. It does matter because they're not, it doesn't matter as much at wide receiver because all the corners are fast, you know, but some of the safeties and linebackers are slow. And if you can run at 4.5, right? Like that's why George Kittle has like 6 touchdowns of 70 yards or more, and no other tight end is doing that. And this is the kind of guy that can do it. And I've got a whole folder full of passes like flea flickers and stuff where Chig was wide open and the quarterback for Tennessee was just a bozo, and Ryan Tannehill missing him on wide open touchdowns. So this guy, I'm pretty big on this player.
Yeah, I love Okonkwo, and I will, seeing where he ends up in drafts, I probably will have quite a few shares of him. I believe in him. The numbers haven't been there. Not his fault. One more, Coop. Isaiah Likely goes to the New York Giants, back to John Harbaugh. So, look, Isaiah Likely, the fantasy community is frequently loved him greatly. Working with Mark Andrews for many years. I just think Theo Johnson's there. He already has a 5-touchdown season in the books. We know Malik Neighbors will be healthy at least some point soon. He'll be the target hog. I think there's a lot of 2 tight end sets. At the end of the day, I think Likely's in another spot where we won't be able to ever reach a ceiling we think might be there. What are your thoughts on the landing spot for Isaiah Likely?
Yeah, I guess oddly controversial tweet of mine, I was Chig Okonkwo over Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely got $13 million per year. Chig got $10 million per year. So Isaiah got more money to go play with his former coach. Isaiah Likely, the thing about him is he's actually fairly slow. Like not even fairly, he is slow.
Right.
He runs a over 4.8 40. Mm-hmm. We've only seen, since I've been doing this, 2 tight ends to finish top 5 with a 4.8 or slower. It was 2012 Heath Miller. So right there, I mean, we're talking that's back. And then it was Jake Ferguson this year. And Jake Ferguson, yeah, he had 80 catches. He only had 600 yards. That's where you sacrifice when you're not particularly fast. The numbers for Austin Hooper, people hate when I point this out, are pretty much the same as what they've been for Isaiah Likely the last couple of years. Okonkwo, on a similar number of total snaps, has produced more than Isaiah Likely. The Ravens couldn't figure out how to use him. I'm hoping they will now. There is upside for Likely, but this guy needs to get peppered with targets. Even Zach Ertz is slow. He's faster than Likely. Zach Ertz ran like a 4.7, 4.74.
Yeah, but after the ACL, maybe not, but go ahead.
Right. But in his whole, think about this, in his whole career, he only had one 1,000-yard season, and he needed 156 targets to do it. You know what I mean? Like, this is what we're talking about with guys like this. Like, Isaiah Likely, he has upside. He needs to get peppered. He needs to get the targets that maybe not the 140 targets that Wan'Dale Robinson was getting, but for him to come out and be a top 5 tight end, this guy probably needs to get 120 targets. Like, I just don't see how it happens otherwise. He has a little bit of wiggle as a basketball player, but he's just not going to rip off a 70-yard touchdown with his speed. It's just never going to happen.
Coop, you're one of my favorite analysts in the industry. Tell people where they can keep up with you and your work. Yeah,
so at Fantasy Alarm, I finished a 32 teams in 32 days. Yes, and basically with that those articles don't die when free agency starts, because now you go and check the article. I list all the spots and the holes that these teams have, and you look and see what they did in free agency. And now you can look and say, hey, oh man, they didn't address this. That's what they're going to do in the draft. So basically what I do is I hit that. I'm running the free agency tracker over at Fantasy Alarm. So every fantasy relevant player I do a blurb on. So we didn't get to every single player. I'm talking every single one, Jim. There's a Alec Ingold even, because he's technically a back, right? We're weighing in on everybody. David Sills back to the Falcons. There's a little blurb. So you're going to get that. And then I've got my dynasty rankings updated. Best ball cheat sheet coming out today at Fantasy Alarm for members. And then it's right into rookies. And I come on and do this show with Jim, because Jim's going to come on and join me once again. And I'll tell you what, I'll let you pick whatever position you want. You think about that. Of the 4 positions, you can have whatever you want, buddy, and we'll line it up over on my channel. So love that the show is back on RotoWire. Hit that like and subscribe out there. If you're listening on the podcast, make sure you're auto downloading these, because I know you're just getting back up and running, but this is going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you, Coop. Hey, everybody, one more thing. If you have your baseball for fantasy draft coming up, RotoWire, incredible coverage, no Fantasy Alarm too, but RotoWire will get you 15% off. Use the code YouTube15 at checkout. Get all ready for that draft. We want to thank our sponsor, DraftKings Best Ball. Thanks to you for listening. Come back next week for another edition of the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast.